The world's smallest roads.
Oh, no,
yes.
there is one
Okay.
that is smaller,
that's what I wanted to
actually.
hear.
Yes,
There's a
okay.
base road.
All right. Yes,
No.
all right.
That one.
Okay. So this, out of anything I own, this is probably the rarest thing.
That's the suitcase.
No, it is a dealer demonstration one key model. I mean, where do I? Hold on, let me get this.
It's
Come on.
David
I
Guetta's
don't want
piano.
to, right. I definitely don't want to scratch that up after doing all of that. All right, so for those.
It's just a meme. I'm not disrespecting the man.
No, yeah. So for those that really enjoy playing the one-note samba, there it is. So,
Oh, God, look at that.
so what this was is that Harold Rhodes and others, but Harold would go around giving dealer showcases. So, you know, CBS Fender Rhodes distributed the Rhodes, and dealers would buy them to sell in their stores. But in order to teach those dealers how to voice a Rhodes, how it works, whatever, you can't really see into the Rhodes because it's all internal parts and it's all blocked by the tarp. I mean, so you can't really see it. So having this cross section, it would talk about, you know, the tips on how to adjust this, how to adjust that. But it's really cool because you can see how the action operates and the different, you know, the different parts that happen. So you have this key, which is like a seesaw, for lack of a better word. When you push it down, it pushes the hammer up. The hammer strikes the tine, but at the same time, this bridle strap pulls the damper felt down and allows it to ring.
At the same time?
So if that didn't work, it wouldn't, you know, operate the thing. So the strap pulls that, gets out of the way, hammer hits that. So it's really like you can see that it's an orchestrated thing. But
This has no escapement, though.
what's that? Oh no, this the escapement would be the distance between the hammer tip and the tine
Because by velocity it gets up.
Correct.
And then, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it does hyperextend, so if the tine wasn't there, the hammer can go up higher. But
Right.
the interesting thing is that everything is interrelated. So if the pickup has a V curvature to it, and that's what allows you to set the tone on it. So as the tine approaches the center of the pickup, it gets a little more nasally, like, you know, as an overtone. And as you voice it up, the tone changes. But as you move it up, the damper tension changes. And so everything is interrelated. So as you make an adjustment here, you need to potentially make an adjustment here. You can see the slack in here. That's a lot of slack.
So for people to understand where the actual sound is coming from, right?
Yes.
It hits this and it's like vibrating a tuning fork, more or less?
Correct. So this literally is an unequal leg tuning fork. And when I talked to the factory guys, the reason why the tuning fork isn't 100% the same is that there was no decay. So when you would hit it, it almost sounded organ-like in the very beginning. It was just like a tuning fork, just
Goes
rings
on.
forever.
Yeah.
You know? So by making it uneven, it actually reduced, you know, you had more decay quicker. It decayed quicker. So with that, when the tine vibrates, it disrupts the magnetic field here and basically works its way through the pickup and then out through this and then out to an amp.
And clearly you need a preamp because you need to put some voltage through it to
Correct.
appreciate the change in...
Sure. But and this is very much guitar pickup technology. It's very much a metal object in front of a pickup going through a coil and then coming out of a 1/4-inch guitar jack.
But this is vibrating.
Yes.
And then how's it being picked up?
So it's being picked up by the front of the pickup, by the pull piece in the
like
front.
from here to here?
Yeah, this only helps with resonation. This only helps. If this wasn't here, it would be like thud, dead.
Oh, so the tine is...
The tine is what actually the sound comes from, and this kind of assists
I
with the.
see.
You can put your finger in there. You can feel the.
Oh, yeah.
The resonation. So it just helps. It helps to make sure that there is enough decay.
So basically this is a two-way thing because this is vibrating.
Correct.
So but this is also carrying the vibration. So it's an orchestration of this, or this is the tuning fork.
This is the tuning fork, yeah, and it's just
right.
like suspended in air, if for lack of a better term.
Okay.
So if you think
I
about it,
see.
a Rhodes really is like 73 or 88 tuning forks,
Right.
all in a row.
And it's decoupled from this, so it's not
Correct.
resonating on this. It's
Yes.
just keeping it like this is a unibody in a sense.
Right,
Yeah.
because if this wasn't spring mounted and the tone bar was directly on the wood would suck
Would
up
suck up all the
correct.
vibration, yeah.
So it is these isolation grommets. They keep it floating up.
Yeah, and you need each node to be independent too, so it wouldn't be like homogenizing it across the whole piece
Right.
of wood.
Sure.
And this is a great way to see it.
Yeah, and on a Wurlitzer, the reeds are flat. So if you think about like a ruler at the end of the table and you whack it, it'll totally just move
Yeah.
up and down, no problem. With a Rhodes, as the tine gets longer, it's circular, so it has the ability to oscillate. So that's also why the pickups are independent. You can move them around to center them on the tine, or if you have whatever. You kind of need that independent. You can't really just have like a comb, just like the Wurlitzer. You can't have just like a comb pickup and put the tines in there because it'll clang around and hit them. So they have each note has its own individual pickup.
And obviously this you can pull back and forth to
Yes.
to adjust the pitch.
So that does the tuning.
Right.
By a lot.
Yeah. I don't find that my Rhodes go so much out of tune.
No, and the reason why is because it's a pressure fit spring. So the
Right.
spring is always holding onto the tine.
Yeah.
The only time it really goes out is when it's moved around, and sometimes if the pressure isn't strong enough on the spring,
Yeah.
so you can kind of just like lightly move them around or whatever. But so yeah, so they usually stay in tune pretty well.
They wouldn't react to humidity or changes in temperature because
Well,
it's elastic.
It does, yeah. I mean, it does in itself. So the spring won't move, but I have a funny video where I had a Rhodes out in the garage in the winter, and it was pretty cold outside. So I held a tuner to it, and it was like 5 cents flat, and then I just went up to it and went with hot air, and the tuning went. Zoop, it came right back into tune.
No way.
Because it is metal, so it does
expanded.
expand and contract with the temperature. But the whole piano would detune or come back into
So
tune by
easily.
itself. Yeah. So
okay.
whether or not the spring moves doesn't matter. It's
Right.
just
And on that 68, then instead of this rubber here, then it's felt on top?
it has felt hammer tips. So the reason why they moved away from those is that on a traditional grand piano you have 2 or 3 strings, or
Yeah.
on some of them 1. But so you have this kind of surface area of 3 strings and a felt hammer hitting it. So you'll see on acoustic pianos there'll be grooves in the
Yeah.
hammer from the strings.
Yeah.
But this only has 1 tine. So what was happening is the hammers would hit and then they would start developing a V. So the hammer tip started creating a groove, a V in
Yeah.
itself. And then that would kind of wrap around the tine, or when you would try to hit it, it would punk around. So the technology of using traditional piano hammerheads was always a nightmare. And then they finally got around that of having to sand down each of the hammerheads, or to Harold Jr. No, it wasn't Harold Jr. It was Dave Rhodes. Dave Rhodes, Harold's I believe first son. Had said that he would go around with his dad reshaping hammerheads on all these pianos.
Like the piano,
because-
like an acoustic piano tech, would just with a sharp thing, just kind of prick them and
Right.
fluff
Yeah,
them
to
up.
make them softer or
Right, correct. Yeah. So the whole era of having to do all of that labor, they were like, we got to
Yeah.
do something with this. So these neoprene hammer tips, these rubber hammer tips, they're really resilient. Yes, they can groove
They're
as
hardened
well.
though, right?
Yeah, they are hardened, but excuse me. They last so much longer, and they're so much easier to replace. So that definitely it does impart a different tone, but it's totally for mass production. That's the way to do it.
Right.
So, and the very last thing I'll say about CBS Fender Rhodes in general is they often get a bad rap. We talked earlier about pre-CBS Fender guitars are apparently the guitars to have, but there were no real full-sized pre-CBS Rhodes pianos. Once Leo sold it, then they started making the full pianos. We have the benefit of a company that did mass produce that piano. So if you want to find a RMI or some of these, the difficulty is finding it. If you want to find a Rhodes, you can find one because they really did mass produce them. So they catch a lot of flack for like, oh, well, they were cutting costs, or they were doing this, or blah, blah, blah. But the fact is that they made a whole bunch of them. And if you want one, you can go get it. You, at this point, would need to take it to a tech to make sure that, just like a car, you could fix your own car, but if you take it to a guy that knows what he's doing, take it to a guy or girl, that you definitely, you're going to be surprised at what it can sound like. So I am thankful that they did make so many of them, because we all get a chance to have a Rhodes.
What if the audience would like to know more about you? Where can they find more about you?
No, I'm LA's best kept secret. You can't find me. Just kidding.
That's a good one.
No, because otherwise the phone's gonna be ringing off the hook. No, but if you did want to find more, my Instagram handle is retrorentalsnet, and my website is retrorentals.net. There's Nobody wants to be paying 20 grand for a .com. Like, that's fine. I'll take the .net. We're good. So Instagram, website. But yeah, so I do the piano restorations, also do rentals, and then occasionally have some fun stuff for sale.